Hello, everybody. Tom King and Terrence Stevens, The Business of Life in Black and White, coming back to you for another episode. Hey, T.
What's up? Good morning, America. Okay. It's cold out there. Well, I don't know where you're at, but I'm hearing it's cold everywhere. It is 25 degrees in Atlanta and things are frozen over. But you know what's hot? Us.
You cracked me up. All right, so you and I were having a discussion, and I think it leads to something I want to talk about today. And it's funny you say it's cold because it's kind of a winter theme. Um, there's been some statistics start to come out now for kind of the 2024 stuff in our industries and kind of how rough of a year it's been for so many folks in the real estate world, in the mortgage world, professionally, and just kind of the market being in a rough spot and being down. And we got a lot of folks trying to go find different jobs or find alternative means of income and all that fun stuff. And you use a word because you always use it, and I love it, and I just think it's an interesting and relevant framework for that, and that's resiliency. And you tend to use it in conversations with our clients and our meetings and that kind of stuff, and talk about kind of the resiliency that it takes to win a deal and to win an offer. Um, and yet we can sit here and have a conversation about the fractional percentage of income I made this year versus the last 5 or 6 years, and what it takes to get through that too. So I think as we head into the winter, let's talk about being resilient and what that means and what it takes and how that's a differentiating feature both professionally and personally.
I'll take the lead with this one, and only because I often I think if anybody knows me, I talk about the spirit a lot, right? What that means. And personally, I feel like I have a spirit animal, and that spirit animal is a brown bear. Okay.
How
And I have a
convenient.
point with all of this, but in the winter months, brown bears are known for hibernating, right? When I discovered more what hibernation actually was, they don't go to sleep and just stay away. They're actually awake, active. Their body is moving. Their heart, their organs, everything is still active. Their brain is still active, but they are taking a moment to process, to stay away from the elements, to sit in stillness. And they can do that because they took the days, the weeks, the months prior to store, right? To bring things in that they knew that would be healthy for them and their families, to do the thing that led up to the cold or slow season. It is always in this time of year that I will personally sit with myself much more often. I will slow down. I will smell the coffee beans and really intake what life is trying to tell me. Because like with everybody else, things slow down. The market slow down, the open houses slow down, the amount of mortgage applications slow down. But I never have fear of this season because I always know that I've eaten well prior to this, and I've stored enough in my body that I don't stop, but I'm okay to slow and hibernate. And so as we approach this season, it's so relative to what's going on because it's freezing outside and people are nervous. They're scared. The election is over. We've got some things in the air that are moving and grooving, but the reality is the seasons change, and they always will. It's the one thing that we can bank on. And so while this has been a slow, historically slow year, I read a statistic that almost 3/4 of all licensed real estate agents have not sold one deal this year. Historically slow, okay? Yet there are still people who are churning and making it happen. So what separates you or I from those people to the ones who have completely slowed or diverted their attention from the thing that they've poured so much into? So I think we all can give a testimony to what this year, or honestly, what the last 4 years have been. We put a lot of emphasis on 2024, but this is still the effects of a global pandemic and rates being historically low and inventory being low. This is all the effects of where we're at right now. But personally, and as I told you earlier, I think we see light on the other side of the tunnel. And I'm excited and invigorated to do my part in educating people like we did yesterday on our call with our clients, educating people on why now, more than ever, is, in my famous coin term, get in where you fit in. Wherever that is, you have to get in where you fit in, because if you don't, you will be left behind when the seasons change. You'll still be sleeping in the cave while everybody is out looking for their next deal, meal, whatever is relative in that case. So I think we all have had it with the year of 2024. But if you carry that energy into the year of 2025, what you focus on does expand, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So today, for you and I, and for anybody who gets to watch this, I am choosing on focusing on what is to come in the future and not what has happened in the past 11 and some change months, right? We are on our way to such a brighter future in the industry, but just our personal lives too. There's a lot going on. So be encouraged. Anybody who's watching this, be encouraged that we've survived, but now it's time to thrive. I'm not worrying about survival mode anymore. I am focused on thriving.
I think it's interesting, right? You think of the word resiliency, and there's we all have been saying it for a long time, right? Like it's just a matter of time. Once the spring comes or once the new year comes, like the market's going to pick back up. It's a cycle. There are always cycles. It's undefeated, to your point, right? There's always going to be these cycles. And when you focus on a word like resilience, it gives you, at least it does for me, right? I like that. I like a word that can kind of give me a personal challenge to attach myself to, right? We've gone through, not only was the mortgage market a disaster this year and the real estate, whatever. I mean, Amanda had life-changing back surgery that couldn't move for 6 weeks. I'm about to go have knee surgery in 2 weeks. We both had pneumonia 2 weeks ago. I had a kidney issue, 2.5 weeks. I mean, it's just been
One
right
thing after
punch
that.
after, Dominic
Yeah.
got run off the road, crashed my truck, and it's still in the shop. And then
I'm sorry.
Amanda's car's got a warranty issue and it's in the shop. So I'm literally driving a damn golf cart to closings right now. Like it's one of those things after another. And yet a word like resiliency, right? It gives me I want to be that, right? Like I want to represent that word, and I can use that as my power and my strength and my kind of
It's
guidance
an
going
anchor. It's an
forward.
anchor word. It is that word that keeps you grounded. And as somebody who really focuses on the idea of being grounded, no matter what storm is there to lift you out of your tracks, the whole idea of life is to remain grounded, right? And so I use the word as an anchor word, reminding me that no matter what the storm might be, I still have both feet on the ground, and there is not a thing that is going to be able to take me from that. You give power to the words you speak, and a lot of people don't understand if we're constantly talking about being, if we're constantly talking about the lack of something, the lack of business, the lack of deals, then we're not focused on the fact that we're in a different statistic of people who have actually continued on with this business, while statistically speaking, there are a number of people who have chosen not to. And I think sometimes we get on here, or I see different podcasts or public conversations where everybody paints this picture that everything is okay. This is the opportunity to tell everybody who watches, this year has not been okay. But this year will be done in 25 days. Okay. Will you focus on how poor this year was for you? Is that your focus? Because I guarantee it will manipulate itself over into 2025. Or can we start having conversations about the future and what we're excited about doing, having, seeing, experiencing, and everything else? That's the energy. And I think if we're having this conversation in July and there's some things that haven't been panned out and we don't know what's coming, and oh my God, there's still 5 months left, Of course, we're at the last days. And I know for a fact, I do not want to step into this year, this next year, the way I stepped into this year. It was very fragile. It was very, I don't know what's going to happen. Rates are high. We've seen it. It's done. It's done. It's gone. Now, can I start manifesting more deals, more clients, more relationships in the integrity of knowing there's cycles? This thing is about life cycles. Half of the stuff you just mentioned that you're going through, I had no clue about, right? But the reality is what I know about you and what I have had to know in the past 8 years is that you will always find a way to make it work. You'll always find a way to persevere. And that is a quality that a lot of people do not hold. They weren't taught it. It's sink or swim, right? We choose to swim constantly. There are others who choose to sink. I want to be around swimmers. My coach back in the day used to talk about those who ride the car or those who push the car, right? And it's a true thing. I want to be around those who see the future for what it should be and not what it is, right? Like what can it be? It can be everything that we want it to be. So for anybody who's watching, whom you work with is extremely important, and we reiterate that time and time again. But there is no better time to realize that those that you choose to work with must be grounded at all times, because there are way too many problems that people focus on and not enough solutions. Align yourself with those who are solution-based, because they're always going to find a way to fix whatever problem it is. Right now, we're talking about an affordability issue. It's true. But I can tell you 5 different ways we can fix an affordability issue as best as we can. Work with those who have solutions and are frankly unafraid to tell you everything is not okay. But it will be, right? Like it will be. We've had several sticky deals this year, Tom. It's going to be fine.
And credit where credit's due, right? I think you and I both give a lot of credit to some Keller Williams philosophies that we learned, right? You mentioned one of them, the what you focus on
Focus on
expands, or the
expands.
the be do have kind of stuff, and the pressure makes diamonds, and just all those kind of positive verbiage around the words that you're using and the thoughts that you're having. And I've been having to do that a lot lately. I've been in a place where I've just been kind of spinning out in my own head a little bit, and really having to refocus on controlling the chatter in my own brain to continue to be positive and forward thinking. And it's
Not
hard, man. It's you can be really, I mean, you and I are a great example, right? You can be really good friends with somebody and spend a lot of time in them. And sometimes it's a challenge to know exactly what's going on in somebody's head and what
you'll
their
never
their
know.
current struggle is, right? You might have an idea, but
Yeah.
it's difficult. So
Yeah. I not to take this biblical, but there's the allegory of the cave, and where and I can't remember exactly who it was, but there's a man in a cave and he feels lost and lonely and he's isolated. And in summary, the cave is representing this quiet, isolated place, but it's the only place in which you can hear God's voice clearly, right? And it's almost nerve-wracking when you spend time with yourself and you're allowing your brain to do all of the talking. But when you shut that brain down and you just submit yourself to what God is saying, the cave is so important for all of us, because you're able to walk out of that cave and share openly what has been shared with you, right? The praise, the glory, the favor, whatever it is, but it is only in that space of darkness and isolation. And so many of us try to avoid that. So I think when that chatter happens, I always ask myself or find ways and practices to get into my cave, right? Going right back to that brown bear. That brown bear is in that cave hibernating. That brain is not turned off. They are not completely dead or sleep. They're just finding ways to be isolated, quiet. And so when they are able to come out, stretch, and feel it and love it, The season has changed, and now I can go out there and experience all of what is being prepared for me while I was tucked away. Sometimes we need that isolation. Sometimes we need that dark, dreary space so that we can better hear what we need to hear,
That's
right?
funny you
This
say that.
is that year.
Amanda just challenged me on that yesterday. I go for a walk every morning as soon as Dom leaves for school, and I take the dog, and it's not long, but I'm gone for about a half an hour, and I listen to a myriad of podcasts that are all personal growth stuff, and or occasional CrossFit one or something, but all very healthy things. And I'll typically come back and kind of download whatever I think was relevant so that she can know what I was listening to. And we were struggling a little bit yesterday, and she said to me, it's great that you're ingesting all of this good stuff, and like, when is your quiet, right? You're
Woo!
putting all this stuff in your brain. When are you sitting still with God, or just talking or thinking, or when do you have that time? And it was good. So this morning I went for a walk and took my AirPods out and left them and just kind of looked at the trees and the sun,
And I will tell you, the two places I do this the most: showers are my cave moments. And sometimes in my car, I
Mhm.
listen to nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. I will
Yep.
listen to absolutely nothing and just let my brain be.
Yeah.
Um, there's
Yeah.
power in quietude, there is power in isolation. There is power in that. While some people know that their brain is so scattered and you're thinking about a million things, the greatest tool that we have to self is being able to shut down and just be.
Yeah.
Because if you forget to do that, you're smoked. Okay, you forget to just be. You have no hope. So I am glad that somehow or another we always have these relative stories that come back full circle. And Amanda is right, man. I mean, it was gonna be what I recommended to you, and I'm glad she already did. Sit still for a second and just take in everything that you've been able to do as it pertains to getting through this year, and give yourself a damn pat on the back. We don't praise ourselves enough because we're so worried about the next moment. If you if you can't appreciate this moment, you won't have a next.
Yeah.
So it's just the beautiful seasons of life, man. I know we're about to come into one crazy of a year, and I'm so looking forward to everybody who gets to experience this thing with us, because frankly, this might have been the slowest year for both of us business wise, but one of the most personally elevating spaces that we've been in, where we've gotten to experience what life really means, what the value of life. When I go down, who am I? If somebody else close to me goes down, who do I get to step up and be? What kind of father, husband, brother, son am I when I'm not focused on business? Right? I think there is beauty in being able to balance out the two. And so this was very purposeful on God's part to say, you've had the riches, you've had the flowing business, you've seen what that is. Now let me isolate you a bit. And I'm not taking everything away from you. This isn't ripping you from everything that you know. We've had those moments. We've experienced those moments. This was a recheck. This was a recalibration of, remember, I'm still in control. And I think that's been the beautiful part, is while business has been slower than we want, personally, I have not spoken to myself, taken time to do things, appreciated my home more than I have in this year. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take every deal we had to fight for. I'll take every tear that came. I'll take every bit of frustration that came, because it is the reason why 2025 is going to blow us out the water.
Resiliency, baby. Forget the people listening. I think you're just preaching to me today, and I appreciate it. All right, at
I'll
the
take it.
risk of taking this too long, let's leave it at resiliency and the beauty that is yet to come. Um, closing with, you and I have always been sports guys and both had a long career in different sports worlds. Yours a little higher level than mine, but mine maybe a little longer than yours. And we briefly touched on it, and I told you something that coach had told me. So the question of the day is, what is the most uplifting, positive, nice thing that a coach has ever called you, referred to you as, or said about you to someone else or to you directly? And I'll give you a second, as I like to do. I was changing baseball teams because we were moving from from Baltimore to Philadelphia. And my coach in Baltimore called the new coach in Philadelphia, and paraphrasing, this was long time ago, and said to the guy, said, Tom's a good pitcher. You're going to be happy to have him. He doesn't throw as hard as some of these other guys. What he got me with was, he told the other coach, he said, but Tom will pitch himself out of a paper bag. He'll hit two guys and walk the bases loaded and then find a way to strike two dudes out and get a double play or whatever. And I've always appreciated that. And I think that's relevant to the resiliency, right? It was just it didn't matter how far you pushed me against the wall. There was no give up. I'm going to find a way out of this damn paper bag somehow.
I was a freshman in high school, new on the scene, coming to the high school that I chose to go to instead of the private school that my mother wanted me to go to, and I had some offers and things like that. And one of our assistant coaches, but also one of the policemen at our school, and this is almost a different angle, but still really relevant. He said, "There's a lot of chatter about you in this school. You've come from middle school. Your name followed you here." And he said, "But a lot of people are talking about how much potential you have." And he said, "But something about that word doesn't sit well with me." He said, "Because the word potential speaks to all the things that they see you can do, but that you have not done." And it was in that moment and the moments that followed that I realized how much I hated the word potential as it pertains to people. And I said, I no longer want to be an example of potential, but a real example of reality, of work in progress, of doing what I need to do to show up how I need to show up. And he pretty much spoke life into me in that moment, that don't let people just put you in a box for what they think you can do. Show up, prove them wrong, prove yourself wrong, and knock it out the park every time. And I went on to be an incredible high school football player, an incredible high school wrestler, and I stuck, and collegiate and professional. I stuck with those words. Those words followed me for the rest of my life, because people can always see you for what they think you could be, or you can show up for what you are.
Not to belabor this, but what you just said and what I just said makes me think of something that my dad told me a long time ago. I was coaching a 13 to 15-year-old county baseball summer team in Pennsylvania one year, and I was only in college. So I was a young guy. I was the youngest coach in the whole league by 20 years, and we won the damn championship for the first time ever in the history of the county. And we got done with it all, and I'm a pretty reserved guy, so I didn't really celebrate much. And somebody had said something, I don't know, whatever. I said to my dad, I was like, like, it's cool and all, but like, what does this really mean? Like, what am I really doing for any of these kids? Like, nobody's really going to remember any of this. And my dad said to me, he said, you'll never know the impact you had. And it just takes one kid that might remember you for the rest of your life for the impact that you had. So you're thinking of that guy from middle school. I'm thinking of this big old heavy set, huge black man that was my coach when I was, 20 whatever years old. And we still remember those people for something positive and
I mean,
encouraging they said
and
to
when
us.
I
So.
tell you life comes so full circle, that police officer, assistant coach ended up being, years later, coming to me as one of my fraternity brothers and asking for a recommendation on his character. And then my high school football coach, who spoke plenty of life into me, and the reason why I even went to Stanford, ended up relieving himself of being a football coach, but getting into the real estate world and asking me how. And so when I say these things come full circle, you never know how your impact will change the direction of somebody's life, and whether that is on the receiving end or the giving end. Just always lead with being impactful. Whatever it is, share those words, speak your truth, be honest, be vulnerable, and know that all it takes is one person for you to leave a legacy that people will talk about.
You are a light, my brother, and I appreciate you, and I'm sure a lot of people do too.
I appreciate you too, brother. Happy Friday. Let's go kick this rest of this year and gear up for 2025, man.
Amen, brother. I'll see you later.
Done.
Bye, everybody.